Get the Friendo Club set up today and get access to over 700 Going In Raw bonus episodes, our monthly Big Blue predictions challenges, and the ability to ask questions at Going In Raw. We also offer the Steven Larson comic book and exclusive Friendo Club t-shirt. Just hit join here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson to sign up. Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Larson.
Welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we'll be taking a look at your pro wrestling hot takes. That's right. Make sure you're always subbed to the channel and you hit the notify bell so you're always notified whenever we put up a new hot takes thread. And maybe your hot take will be featured on the show. Larson, where would you like to begin today?
Let's start with Daywalker, IRL.
IRL.
Real life.
In real life.
They say. Seth joining War Games is a red herring. What OG really needs is a heavy hitter to counter Reed. Picture this. It's War Games and only 4 stand there, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Heyman comes out to say, the 5th member of the team is Brock Lesnar.
I don't think he would say it like that.
No.
Come on, you gotta give the Heyman. Ladies and gentlemen,
Brock.
There you go.
Lesnar. The pop would be massive. Lesnar is a Heyman guy.
True.
Yeah. He keeps getting rumored for a return, like him or not. It works.
Oh, well, that last bit, like it or not, it works.
Obviously subjective.
Right. You can't throw that out. You can't say, you like it or not, this is the way it is. So I do think that, like, at this point, I'll address one of the items here. I know you and I are on the same page. We don't want to see this.
We don't want to see Brock.
I do think that Brock, to a live crowd, still probably has that old Pavlovian, oh, it's great.
And
I'm sure
this.
Look, man, I'll be honest. I'm sure there's probably plenty of people who haven't really paid much attention to all the Vince McMahon details and the lawsuit and how Brock was involved in some of that, allegedly as reported by the Wall Street Journal, according to their reporting. You know, man, I'll be honest with you. Like, even away from that stuff, it's been a very long time since the luster of Brock Lesnar really held any sway with me. I just think he's a bit of a, I don't know, he just sort of sticks out like a sore thumb these days. Yeah, I get it from okay, the standpoint of Heyman's gonna bring in a heavy hitter to help out Roman. I mean, even from a storyline perspective, Brock Lesnar causes all sorts of issues with Team Original Bloodline. The last time, Roman and Brock mixed it up was that really fun Last Man Standing match, I think.
Yeah,
and the OG Bloodline buried Brock Lesnar under all that stuff to get the win. I don't really see Brock wanting to be on the same page or wanting to help out Roman. What beef he would have with the, Solo and them doesn't really make any sense. From a storyline perspective, it simply doesn't make any sense. And you need some storyline motivation beyond, well, he's a Heyman guy. I just don't think this works, whether you like him or not.
Yeah. No, agree 1,000% with you. I don't think it works. There's been a lot of discussion going around about people thinking CM Punk's going to be the 5th member of the OG Bloodline team, predominantly because he is a Paul Heyman guy.
But where's the story? Why does it,
I know. And that's the thing is beyond indirectly sticking it to Seth by being, involved and taking down Bronson Reed. But even that, it's like, it's flimsy. It's not the strongest stuff.
Why would Punk want to do? Here's the thing, like, Punk being the guy to take down Bronson Reed kind of just helps Seth out. Seth. It's not like Seth's got like, this is something I want to do for my pride. No, it's this guy tried to end my career, So I'm going to try to show him that I'm nobody to mess with. It's not like, oh, you're the guy who slayed Bronson Reed. It's this guy and I have beef. Even if Punk took out Bronson Reed, Seth would be like, still, I want to take this guy out myself because he tried to end my career.
They wouldn't deter Seth from wanting to do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and and I understand people having the making the point that the match doesn't necessarily need. This match doesn't necessarily need 5 members for each team. 4-on-4, focused on the bloodline, makes sense. I don't disagree with that. At the same time, though, this is what WWE want to do. They want to keep it 5-on-5. And on commentary on Raw, they mentioned Bronson Reed potentially being a mercenary, being hired as a mercenary, which is how he got brought up to the main roster in the first place, by Bad Bloodline. And as so long as they can come up with a decent justification for Seth looking past the whole I'm never going to team with Roman again ever to team with Roman again, as long as they can hit that story beat, fine, I'll roll with it. It's all right. It makes more sense than a lot of the other options out there, including Brock Lesnar. I don't want to see Brock on my TV. I don't think WWE at this point wants the presence of Brock Lesnar and what his presence brings as it relates to the Vince lawsuit involved in a match that is probably going to main event their show.
Yeah, so like speaking on that aspect of it, there is still and there is still this lawsuit. You got to think that there is the distinct possibility, given that this new administration is going to be friendly to Vince McMahon, that the federal investigation might just simply be dropped. You can't rule that out.
It's a possibility, yeah.
And but the lawsuit itself, that's not going to be dropped. Now, might it be settled? I suppose that's a possibility because that tends to happen with lawsuits. When somebody says, well, no, we're not looking to settle, we're looking for justice. Sometimes in lawsuits, that's just a way of saying we're not going to settle unless it's for a massive amount. And then it all get, hushed. Mm-hmm. But you got to think that with the entire process of the lawsuit, what that might still yield in terms of publicity, negative publicity, you're right. I don't think they're going to want to deal with the Brock Lesnar possibilities, putting him on TV. And I'm not even saying that's, WWE would be worried about that. They'd be worried about the sponsorship implications there, as we saw with Vince McMahon the first time around.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't think they would do that. From a storyline perspective, it could make some amount of sense for Brock to join Solo's team, but he already has 5 people. So that wouldn't even work at this point. No. So I don't see how this works from a storyline perspective. It just doesn't, there's no logic to this.
No, I don't think there is either. Moving on, another hot take. Atticus here says Sami, Jay, and Seth probably joining Roman's team for Survivor Series feels completely unearned. Roman is the exact same person he was 12 months ago and hasn't done anything significant to mend fences.
Roman's still a dick. He's still a bad guy. You're right. I agree with this 1,000%.
Same.
Look, the people appreciate the OTC because he was headlining show after show after show. Roman was the forever champion, and he was the corner piece of the most successful story in the history of modern pro wrestling. And for that, and on top of that, Roman's just simply charismatic, and people find him very entertaining, as do you and I. We love Roman Reigns.
Put your ones up for your tribal chief.
Roman Reigns. But from a character perspective, this guy's a piece of shit, Larson. He was a piece of shit when he lost to WrestleMania. He came back, said, I want the same thing we used to have. The same thing you used to have was you being a tyrant.
Well, they also said, I'm not changing.
Right. He said those words, I'm not changing. No apologies. Still sitting there, not giving eye contact to what he considers his henchmen, not doing the legwork and trying to recruit people for the Survivor Series match, sitting there depressed on his phone because Paul Heyman changed his number or his phone was broken and therefore his number was discontinued, which I guess maybe in the universe of WWE makes some technological sense, but in the real world it makes no sense whatsoever.
You just got to take it to Verizon. You get a new phone. It's not a huge deal.
Now, yeah, because dude, I'm sorry, but this is sort of the problem with speed running war games, is that Sammy said, "Hey, Roman, you want me on this team? You got to say I'm sorry to Jay." That never happened.
Nope.
And yet Sammy still, "Oh, I had such a good time." It's a sickness, Sammy. That's a sickness right there. This guy treated you like a piece of shit. You still felt like a big deal because you were involved in the main event players and you want a little piece of that crack. Well, guess what, buddy? Roman ain't changed. And if he can get you back under thumb, he'd do it in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Yeah, the downside to speedrun and all this is that a lot of the moments are relying on the equity that the storyline had over the previous 4 years as opposed to building up to these moments so they feel earned in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, when Sammy gets in the ring and it's the four of them, we think back, honorary use. It's nostalgia is what it is for something that happened about a year and a half ago.
The closest they got was Jay saying, "Roman, things have changed and you're not going to put me under thumb. You ain't going to talk to me like you used to. I'm not your errand boy." And what happens 2 weeks later? He's wearing the same shirt as everybody else. Jay's lost his individuality. Now, what they have accomplished in already saying to Roman in Sammy winning the tag titles from the Usos in, night one main event, in Jay breaking off, becoming a massive star on his own, Jimmy even having, the freedom to be his own man, that might be enough for them to feel comfortable talking back to Roman, walking out on Roman when he's getting too big of a head. And maybe that relationship inherently, because it's changed and these men have all realized their freedom, gives them that amount of leeway and leverage with Roman. And maybe that's just there and doesn't need to be said. Jay did say that essentially.
Yeah, he did. He has said that. Yeah.
And to a degree, Sammy did as well. He said, "Hey, this is contingent on you giving me something I want, an apology for Jay," which never came. But Sammy was willing to overlook that for Jay, I guess.
Yeah.
And for, like I said, his own feeling, that hit that he gets when he's in there with the bloodline. And I get that. But yeah, I agree with this. It's unearned. Roman needs to fucking eat some crow, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. Just think if that had happened in the moments when they all reconcile, how much more impactful they would have been.
I think
they'd taken their time
yeah.
and done it right.
Yeah, I think it would have been.
Die Hard Homer, hot take.
Hot take.
Referenced this a little bit ago. Adding Seth and Bronson to War Games feels unnecessary for the Bloodline story. You know how you could adjust that? Make Bronson Reed a full-fledged member of Bad Bloodline.
Put your ones up for Bronson Reed Bloodline member. Yeah, I think that maybe if they had explored that in terms of them actually recruiting him, and we saw the recruitment effort. Mm-hmm. And what you're saying, I think both of us are on board with, hey, how cool would it be? How many more storyline possibilities would there be if this alliance, if Bronson Reed does become a full-fledged member of the Bad Bloodline? I think there's a lot of really interesting things they can do. I'm not optimistic that they're going to do that. But does it feel unnecessary? Okay, so I'll say this. There is an amount of tacked-onedness that it feels.
It doesn't feel necessary. It feels tacked on, yes.
But that being said, it's intriguing because of the relationship mainly between Seth and Roman.
Yep.
And the idea of Bronson joining the bad bloodline, which could present some interesting story. I don't think they're going to explore that, but I think Seth and Roman itself is interesting enough to warrant it.
Yeah, and I think if Roman is going to successfully complete his redemption arc, part of that is making amends with Seth, is repairing that relationship, because that is the instigating incident for all of this anyways. And if this is the first step in starting that storyline, then sure, absolutely. Why not? You advance the bloodline story, you advance Roman and Seth's story, plus you get Seth and Bronson Reed involved in a high-profile match, which is great for Bronson Reed, whether he's going to join Bad Bloodline full-time or not. Tacked on is the word, not unnecessary, because I think there's enough there storyline-wise that you could justify it. Is it the most organic build? No, but none of this really has been. It's all been rushed through. Mm-hmm. But I think the possibilities of what we could get out of it in the end could ultimately justify the inclusion of Seth and Bronson as opposed to just keeping it 4-on-4.
Yeah. I'll put it this way. I prefer it this way than if it was just 4-on-4. I think this is more interesting. I like when it's like, okay, well, we understand that it's inherently a 5-on-5 match. We've seen it in NXT 4-on-4, but we understand that here on main roster, it's always going to be 5-on-5. So we need that. And now we have to find somebody. I like the added wrinkle. I think it's fine.
I do appreciate the consistency that if every year War Games on main roster is going to be 5-on-5, then people, if they're shorthanded, have to make some tough decisions then.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that. I think it makes sense. Before we continue on with our next hot take, Larson, would you like to pay some bills?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's take a break here. Get a word from the sponsor of today's show, Tecovas. You know, Steve?
Yes.
Holidays are nearly here, and I'm feeling a bit sentimental, maybe a bit nostalgic these last few days and weeks, and I've been thinking about these Western boots I got when I was a kid. Maybe I even got them for Christmas. I don't remember, but I do know I wore them all the time. Like, I wore the soles down on them completely. But here's the thing. I don't think that adult Larson could pull off wearing Western boots now.
Oh, man, I don't know about that. I know you've said that before, but I personally do think you could totally rock some Western boots from Tecovas. Tecovas crafts quality Western boots for everybody, from ranchers to cowboys to even first-time boot buyers like yourself. Every pair of Tecovas boots are handcrafted with over 200 steps for broken-in comfort, so they're going to feel right out of the box. Plus, the reviews for Tecovas are off the charts. Reviewer after reviewer mentions they fit great, they're comfortable, and they're easy to put on. Heck, Esquire said in their review, there's a reason we keep coming back to Tecovas. And with Tecovas Best in the West guarantee, you get free returns and exchanges for 30 days.
Sounds like I owe it to my feet to pull on a pair of Tecovas. Right now, get 10% off at tecovas.com/raw when you sign up for email and text. That's 10% off at tecovas.com/raw. Tecovas.com/raw. See site for details. Tecovas, point your toes west.
Before we continue on with our hot takes, want to mention this as well. We've got the Big Blue Predictions Challenge coming up, phase 2 of the month of November. Full gear this weekend. We might not be doing a watch along. However, the Big Blue Predictions Challenge continues. You could be a winner of this Big Blue Predictions Championship hat. It's a beautiful hat. It's a beautiful hat. And you can get your hands on this if you participate in the Big Blue Predictions Challenge. And the way you do that is by getting the Friendo Club set up. I'm in the middle of the pitch. Why do you
I have a great idea. It just occurred to me.
What?
For this one, for this particular challenge, maybe instead of the hat saying Big Blue, considering one of the matches on Full Gear, should say Big Boom.
Wow. All right, I'll think about that one.
I think that's a great idea, Steve. We should do it.
It's certainly an idea. So
I thought it was worth interrupting because it was such a brilliant idea. Anyways, carry on.
I'm glad. I like the enthusiasm. There's 2 ways you can participate in the Big Blue Predictions Challenge, or I guess the Big Boom Predictions Challenge. That's by clicking join right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or by heading over to patreon.com/Steven Larson and clicking on the Friendo Club setup. Either way you do it, it's $5 a month. You get access to all of our bonus episodes, question threads, and the Big Boom Predictions Challenge. And that, Larson, deserves a boom.
Oh, good. You gave it a boom. I thought you were going to give it a doom.
The idea might get a doom, but putting Big Boom Predictions. Fuck it. I could do that.
It's more work for you. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let's move on. We got more hot takes here.
More hot takes. Here we go.
Hot take. JMC here says, I'm really happy Rhea's back, but Bailey would have been an infinitely more interesting option for the women's War Games match.
Somebody's been watching the show. They know that we're going to give this one a boom, Larson.
A boom!
Yeah. I agree.
Why is it that continually Triple H puts interesting stories for Bailey on the back burner?
Yeah, I don't know.
She won the title at Mania, and then there's all these interesting stories they could have told that Triple H could have told with her, and then didn't.
Yeah, I know. It makes me wish that, because you have to think that that's one option if Rhea was not available for this.
Yeah.
And given that Bianca doesn't like her, Naomi is good friends with her. EO kicked her out of the group. I mean, dude, there is a lot you can work with right there. And I was legit, usually when I hear, eat, sleep, this is my brutal, the freaking song, I'm like, oh, cool, Rhea Ripley. I love Rhea. Don't get me wrong. But I was so hoping that it would be that they would have to get a backstage segment where Naomi's pitching Bailey and, Bianca's like, I would have loved to have seen that, and I think it would have led to some really entertaining television. And now everybody's just on the same side, happy as can be, and I think it's not as interesting as it could have been.
I agree 1,000%. And yeah, Rhea's great. And it's obvious that Triple H is investing a lot of creative energy into building up Rhea into a major superstar, and she is a major superstar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously this is the Rhea Liv story, and Rhea getting that title back is something that they're going to revisit. Again, I just feel like, from storyline purposes, for the dynamics between all the members on the team, Bailey would be a more interesting member for the face team in the Women's War Game match than Rhea.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. I think this is...
And also, it really feels like now that Rhea's member of the face team, it really telegraphs that they're going to win.
Oh, yeah, this is a loaded team. So who we got? Yeah, we got... Boy, yeah.
Because Candice is probably going to eat that pin.
I mean, do you have yeah, it's probably going to be Candice. I was thinking maybe Raquel. She's not, but she's sort of supposed to be kind of a powerhouse in waiting. Yeah. Look, the talent in the match is really, really good. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be one of the War Games matches. And I think this has been a couple years running where the women outperform the men.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's been the case definitely with the Rumble, I think, as of late. And I think
it's been the case with War Games too.
I think it has been too, right? It's going to be a really, really fun match. But yeah, what were we talking about? Yeah, Rhea, Bailey. Yeah, Bailey should have been in this thing. Yeah. Boy, Bailey's such a good wrestler too.
She really is. She's a phenomenal performer.
Yeah, she is. All right,
next
hot take.
Hot take. Unlucky Conqueror says, great storytelling is more vital than ever because when a match will be great, it makes a weak/bad story stand out more. I'll add this. This is Larson's edition of this. Great storytelling is more vital than ever because the quality of in-ring competition is so high that you can't get by strictly on having good matches.
Great matches are a dime a dozen these days, man. They really are. I mean, that's one thing that we've got, that especially since AEW has been on the cable television for the past 5 years, is that the great matches come at you fast and furious. And even since Triple H has taken over and he's allowed certain matches to breathe longer, he's emphasized wrestlers like Gunther, who just are awesome wrestlers. You're going to get that more often. And so what is going to be the thing that stands out? It's going to be the story. And that's honestly, like, there is nothing in pro wrestling better than just a damn good story being told.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a shitter of a match, like, you had the build to Jimmy versus Jay at WrestleMania, the match was not very well received. And it sticks out like a sore thumb. And honestly, it's not even like the story specifically between those two was all that compelling. It was more kind of leftovers from the bloodline stuff. But yeah, the match did really stick out like a sore thumb. But even if you have like a decent match, along with a good story, it elevates the decent match. It makes it more memorable if you have a really good story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a good example would be Jay and Roman at SummerSlam a couple of years ago in the Bloodline Rules match, where the story was really good and the match was just kind of a turd.
It was just bloated.
Yeah, it was just kind of meandering. It just wasn't it wasn't great.
Yeah.
But the story was strong enough that as kind of mid as the match was, you were still invested in the outcome because you were invested in this story. So I kind of feel like a really good story can overcome a mediocre match. But if you have a mediocre match with no story, like, what is there to latch onto?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Even a good match with no story.
Why do you care?
Exactly.
Why do you care?
You need to be invested in the outcome.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. These days it takes like an exceptional match with no build to like, oh man, wow, that match was great.
It has to be like 6-star.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Next, your hot take from Chris says Punk should be the one to take the title from Gunther.
Dude, he's the most popular guy they got on the roster. Yeah, I'd say take that title off Gunther. Hey, talk about a match. Oh boy, that'd be a good one. That'd be a really good one. Heck yeah, have Phil take that title off Gunther. Why not? He's kind of a chump these days anyways, man.
Who, Phil?
No, Gunther.
Oh, no, he's going to beat Damian Priest, and he'll be the Gunther of old. Don't worry about it.
He's just going to keep on regressing. He's like, yeah, I beat Priest, but he called me a street trash. I think he's going to be shit.
Call him street trash?
No, but he was like, oh, I'm the king out here on the streets of inside the arena.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I know Punk's super popular.
Woo!
But the main event scene on Raw is so loaded. And we don't know what John Cena is going to be doing during his retirement tour. Is he going to be like put out there, I want to break Ric Flair's record and be a 17-time world champion? In which case,
Cena beats Punk.
No, I was going to say maybe Cena beats Gunther. Oh. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just raising it as a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them possibly. Here's, the big problem with that, though. Cena's just lost a lot lately. I mean, every time he shows up, he's just putting people over.
Yeah.
He lost to Austin Theory, lost to Solo Sikoa. Boy, he's lost a lot.
Yeah.
Now he's going to beat wouldn't you rather a guy like CM Punk, who's won decisively two times against Drew McIntyre, one of the biggest dudes they got, one of the most powerful guys they got. Doesn't that pay better homage to the ring general?
Steve, you know me. I'm number one CM Punk fan, have been since 2011.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%.
And yet, you'd think me, of anybody, would want Punk to win the title and then just carry it forever, right? Being number one CM Punk fan.
Yes, correct.
And yet,
I
feel like Gunther's the one that should win and then carry the title, basically until he decides he wants to give it up.
Well, here's the thing that not a lot of people realize is that you are a bigger Gunther fan than CM Punk. So right now you've got no credibility. All credibility is gone.
I have to recuse myself from this debate because
got that right. Yeah. Your love
it's
of Gunther
clear
is
that
so
I feel
strong.
like Gunther should never lose.
Yeah. But I don't know.
I will say this. I would look forward to a Punk Gunther feud for this reason, because I feel like the last couple Gunther title defenses, Orton, and then the last one, I don't know, this felt kind of middle of the road. I feel like Punk might bring something, a new energy to the whoever is there helping put the Gunther's matches together Get a little bit of a spark.
It's a dream match for sure, dude.
Yeah.
It's definitely a dream match. Yeah, dude. No, I'm looking for. Look, regardless, you know you're going to get this match, regardless,
Yeah, it's
you know
gonna
who
happen.
wins or loses. And I'm not optimistic that Punk will win that, but I don't know how much time. I'm sure Punk likes to think that he's got all the time in the world, but I don't know how much time he's got left. And it would be a huge, huge moment if he's the guy that dethrones Gunther. I also think that at this point, well, it depends also how they're going to treat the world championship. Like, Priest didn't have it very long. Gunther, it depends. Like, I don't think his reign has been, obviously, it's been not as... I don't think it's been as good as the Intercontinental Championship obviously was 666 days, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
And
hard
it
to
was just
compare them.
One fantastic match after
It was. And this so far, it's been like the Orton match. Yeah, it was really good for an Orton match. For a Gunther
Cody match was all right.
Yeah, the Cody match really suffered from that finish, though.
Yeah, it did.
That was like kind of a stain there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Priest match will be good.
Yeah, I hope so.
But like, how many more title defenses would he have until he gets to Punk? And at that point, are we looking at like 6 months of Gunther? And then we've only had these like not great title runs. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
It will be. This is Chill with a hot
Chill.
take. Says pipe bomb promo is overrated.
Oh, wow. Hard to disagree on that one, man.
I don't think Steve agrees with this one.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, it's sort of like... It's like the most iconic promo there is. You know what I mean? Like, there's hard times, there's pipe bomb, there's tear in my eye. It's like it's that.
Yeah.
It's so, I don't think, like, overrated. The actual, and I'll be honest, I think the meat of it is better than the other ones, is better than those. I think the meat, it's like he sits there on the stage, and, we just did that Survivor Series 2001 review, and I watched the Heyman promo on Vince.
SmackDown, yeah.
On that SmackDown, the go home, and it's in line with that. It's like, oh shit, it was a unique presentation, a unique way to end it with the mic going out and the screen just cutting to black. So that amped it up. He was wearing a Steve Austin shirt, which was like, oh, that's cool. What does that mean? The thing, the names he was bringing up, you let Chris Masters go, you let Brock Lesnar go. Basically just like all these, perceived fumbles in Vince's career run in WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it was so wonderfully delivered. Yeah, no, I think it was awesome. I do. I don't think it's overrated. I think like a lot of like amazing songs, it's overplayed.
Yeah. There's very few pro wrestling promos that you could use a phrase to refer to it and people know exactly what you're talking about. And it's the tear in my eye, the Ric Flair one after he won the Rumble in 92 and Hard Times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many more of those are there? Cream of the Crop, maybe.
Yeah.
But there's just a handful. Yeah. And this is one of them. I will be honest, as good as the pipe bomb is, I think I might personally prefer, and it's really long, but it's great. There's a contract signing between Punk and Cena.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's before their match at SummerSlam after Punk won the belt at Money in the Bank 2011.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, the Punk, that one, the Punk, Triple H, they had some good stuff.
Oh, when he gave Triple H cry face.
Yeah, it was great. He was on a roll back then.
Yeah, he was.
But that pipe bomb, that was something special. It really was.
It set it all off. That's what set it all off.
It did, yeah. Yeah.
It did. Tyler Warden, hot take.
Hot take.
Says each time Mox has won the AEW title, it's meant less and less for him to hold it. I don't know why, but none of AEW's title scenes are doing it for me. When I think about it, none of the belts feel like the prizes that they're supposed to be, especially when one is being held hostage. As a metaphor or whatever, I guess referring to the AEW title being in a briefcase.
Yeah. So each Mox wants to, yeah, dude, it's something about it. AEW is kind of silly in that it goes through like phases for me. Like Swerve's title run, I was like, this is really cool.
Yes.
Swerve is vital. He's new. He's interesting. He's
Yes.
doing career work. He's peaking at the time when Tony Khan decided to put the title on him.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yes.
This felt originally like, oh, okay, this is cool. Mox is doing something. They're trying to do something big here. And then like so many other things in AEW, it just sort of like falls off into like, mediocrity when it comes to the storytelling. And it makes the title feel not as great.
Yeah. Swerve shouldn't have lost the title.
What's the most prestigious feeling title? And this is such a weird, subjective, nebulous, abstract. What's the title that feels most important, most prestigious in AEW?
The one that's featured probably the most in... I'm going to say the TBS title right now. Because... the world title's being held in a briefcase, and Mox is feuding with the mid-card. I get the motivation, but he's feuding with the mid-card. Garcia, Jack Perry's all right. The title looks great. I saw the bit where Garcia, tied Jack Perry to the hood of the scapegoat mobile.
Yeah,
that was
I watched
cool.
Collision this week, yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with the women's title. Mariah May does not have a match at the pay-per-view, and that's ridiculous. I know there's a segment, but she should have a match.
Apparently she had a really good one against Anna Jay.
Yeah.
In the main event of Collision. That was the one thing in Collision I cut it off before the main event.
But I feel like the one title that's featured regularly, that's treated as something people are striving to get on a regular basis and consistent, while not necessarily always great stories over the last few months, has been the TBS title. It's been Mercedes title.
I think that would have been my answer as well, because I think you're right about that. But like... Takeshita is with... Who's Takeshita?
Feuding with Ricochet.
Ricochet is going after that, but that's just for the match. That's not going to change hands.
Okada hasn't done anything for a while with the Continental title.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They're trying to make the Mox title feel like a big deal because they're doing something different with it.
I know, but here's the thing. Here's a hot take for you, Steve.
Yeah.
While Mox is an incredibly consistent performer, very rarely does he attain anything more than consistency.
Yeah, he's never exceptional, is he? Yeah.
And it's, the reports are saying that he's kind of spearheading the creative for a lot of this stuff.
That's probably a bad idea.
And it's very consistent. You know exactly what you're going to get from show to show. Where are the peaks? Where are the moments? Where are the story beats, the twists and the turns?
Yeah, Mox even going back to like the Stone Cold podcast, when you sort of got a feel for what Mox is into when it comes to like pro wrestling stories. It's very simple. It's very basic. You know, it's like goes back to, the 80s basically. Which seemingly, his movie, preferences go back to the 80s as well, if the Rocky thing is to be believed.
Yes.
Which is very simple stuff.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's no like peaks or valleys there. I mean, you could look at him trying to murder Daniel Bryan as like, a moment. But in between then and now, there hasn't been, that was like one big shocking moment. And then it's been like the same promo and over again. There's no hope for you. There's no hope for AEW. What is this place? This place isn't what I wanted to be, this place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm coming after you, Orange Cassidy.
I know.
Okay.
Next, hot take.
Hot take.
Jordan for Kicks here says WWE should commit to a young guy and have them win the Rumble. Brings up Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Dominic Mysterio.
Oh boy. The problem with this is in your main event WrestleMania, and like, yeah, I mean, okay, so even if you don't main event WrestleMania, you're still like in a prominent mid-card spot for the world title. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say Gunther has it going into Mania. We're heading into the Royal Rumble, right? So like Gunther's going to be a lock to keep the title. They're not going to do any big switcheroo thing.
Probably not.
So it's going to be Gunther. Who out of the younger crop, and I know there's going to be people loading up the comments, Ilya. Who in the younger...
tore his ACL. He's out for a while.
I know. He's going to be gone for a while. Who in the younger crop? We got Braun Breaker. We got who's probably the furthest along in terms of the younger guys, like a Dom Mysterio. He's a joke in universe.
Yeah.
Carmelo's a great name, but he can't even get past LA Knight right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who would you go with that you could be like, oh, we're going to turn this guy's star on right now? Braun Breaker's not a terrible name.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If it's any of the names mentioned here against Gunther, I don't see any of them winning. And so you're getting yourself over based on the quality of the match, effectively.
They're not in a youth movement right now.
No.
This isn't like 2003 or 2004.
This isn't 1993.
Right, yeah, right. Like, you've got like well-conditioned older dudes, at the sort of the head of your card because they're the ones who you're banking your business on, because they're the names, they're the stars, they're the. So I just don't know.
I will bring up one right now, younger name that I think if they did it, had them win the Rumble, it would make sense, and that's Solo Sikoa.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were gonna go with Jacob Fatu, but yeah, Solo, sure.
In another couple of years, Jacob absolutely. Jacob's be a massive star in a couple of years, but
no, that's.
But I think
Solo,
right now, if you add Solo to this list of names, I'd be like, all right, I could see. I don't think it's going to happen. I could see Solo winning the Rumble.
He's in a no. You're absolutely right though. He's been placed in a prominent position, a super prominent position. No, that's actually that's a great point right there. I wonder if he's sort of in the spirit of the question when it comes to like. Because he's been around.
He has been.
He's been on main roster for a
couple
while.
Years, yeah.
But no, I mean that's a great name to win the Rumble. I think that'd be awesome. He's doing such good work these days.
Put your ones up for your tribal chief, Steve.
I don't put my ones up for titles, man. I told you I put it up for Solo, and I put it up for Solo. I got no problem putting it up for Solo, but I need a name from you, okay? So I know who I'm putting my one up for.
Your tribal chief. I think it's pretty clear. The Gecko with a hot take. Says AEW's biggest problem is they dropped too many storylines and character beats. MJF versus Garcia dropped. The Elite running AEW dropped.
Yep.
Okada versus Takeshita dropped.
Correct.
Most of what made Jamie Hayter special dropped. Hey, Correct. They kept her theme.
They did, yeah.
Her theme is fantastic. They lack serious follow-through, and it makes it way too hard to care. So we did talk about this a little bit at the end of our Raw recap. Yeah, it's a running thread in AEW, and it was really highlighted for that stretch where they were teasing Okada Takeshita dropped it. And whether it was the plan or not to have Darby get the title shot and lose it to Mox, or if it was a pivot, don't know. It felt like a pivot watching it on TV.
It did, yeah, it did.
There was that stretch through the summer. There's like 4 or 5 things they set up, dropped. And yeah, it's an issue with follow-through. It's an issue with maintaining momentum.
Yeah.
After wrestlers leave stories of significance. It's a major issue, and it has been for the last 5 years in AEW.
Dude, that was, I remember so distinctly back then even saying, writing weekly television is not easy. Where is this company going to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now? Here we are 5 years later. And it's funny because, dude, this is one of those things that's so difficult to talk about because the process of writing weekly wrestling television, like if you and I sat here and talked about a movie, right, with a normal act structure, character development, et cetera, you and I can look at that because, like, breaking down movie scripts is not that difficult. Breaking down extended pro wrestling programs is difficult. It really is. Like when you think about it, when you think about the language of professional wrestling as it pertains to being on television, booking from big show to big show, not the big show, booking from payoff match to payoff match. Okay. And figuring out the twists and turns, dealing with the egos and the politics backstage, dealing with injuries, dealing with how is the crowd going to respond to this? And do we pivot? Here's my hot take. I don't mind pivots as long as you pivot into something that is concrete and you see it through to the very end of what you're doing. And you've got something on the other side of it to do what you said, continue the momentum. I ain't saying that shit's easy. That's why I do think, man, and here's the thing. I don't even think Tony Khan's terrible at it. He's just not terribly good at it because it's not easy to do across 2, 4, 5 hours of television every week. And the other jobs that he already has in his life.
And then Ring of Honor on top of that, too.
It is honestly one of those so underrated things that Vince McMahon kind of, well, I don't know. He probably took it from, a bunch of other people in the past, but certainly, with the advent of WWE Raw, WWF Raw, eventually came up with this pattern of storytelling that goes,
synthesized all these influences and created the language, the visual language of professional wrestling as we know it. Yes.
And the narrative language, and that is something that is so kind of, even when I think of it, I'm not even saying I could fucking do it, because that shit seems really hard.
Yeah.
But there is a specific narrative pattern to pro wrestling on television that when it's laid out properly makes sense and it keeps you engaged. AEW lacks that structure. They have good ideas sometimes. They have good story ideas sometimes. And sometimes, like with Hangman Adam Page, they're able to craft a single story over an extended period of time and then pay it off in a major way with a really great moment. But those are so few and far between with AEW. It gets by almost exclusively on its good matches.
Yeah. Yeah. Next hot take from Starman Stew.
Starman,
I think. Sorry if they got the name wrong. Says, those people that called LA Knight and a flash in the pan weren't right, but they weren't exactly wrong. I don't see him believably hanging in the main event scene, and he's done nothing with that title of his. Well, go ahead.
Contraire. He gets the biggest goddamn reactions, man. Come on,
he gets huge reactions. Here, the what he does or doesn't do with his title is less to do with him and more to do with what creative's giving him.
Yeah.
In terms of setting him up in feuds and storylines. Obviously, when it comes to the promos and his performance, that's on him. But if he's not put in regular situations, titles and wrestlers are elevated through good stories in professional wrestling. And if you as a champion are not put in interesting stories, you just kind of feel like it's the spinning of wheels.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And that's kind of what it feels like because he has, I believe, yet to be involved in a good story since he's become champion. He's feuding with Santos Escobar again.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't really lined up a lot of people for him. The thing about LA Knight is that he is such a wonderful, charismatic personality that has really connected with the crowd. Mm-hmm. I think his title reign will ultimately end up being looked upon positively because of that. It's like, hey, number one, we got the validation for this guy who put in fucking forever, 2 decades of a career into this before he broke through in WWE. He broke through exclusively based on his own charisma and personality and going wildly off script on one promo when he was supposed to cut a babyface promo and he went bad guy. And people love that shit. And he's got that old school feel to him that tickles the nostalgia bone, but bizarrely still fits in today's landscape. No, I think this U.S. title reign for LA Knight, I think, has been a success. You're 1,000% right because there's been no stories, and yet the crowd hasn't grown tired of him at all.
No,
he's got a great stinger on his theme song, but people get hyped to see him and hear what he has to say. That shit was fucking hilarious on Friday.
Yeah.
She can call me daddy. You're going to be crying uncle. Come on. That's so bad, but it's hilarious and it's awesome.
It is. And it's a shame that, and look, it's not LA Knight's fault. It's not Santos Escobar's fault that neither of them have been positioned as well as they could by creative. Because if they had been, then them resuming their feud, even though I know Nakamura returned to attack LA Knight on SmackDown, he's going to get involved in all this. If both of them had been positioned in a way that you look forward to this reunion of their feud, I'd be jazzed about it as much as anybody because I like both of them. But they don't do anything with Santos.
They don't. They don't. That being said, Santos trying to exchange barbs with LA Knight, saying, LA Knight, yeah, it's terrible. Escobar C is what people should be chanting.
Yeah.
It's just fun. His lame, like he's getting just as lame as LA Knight is with his jokes. The Milwaukeean, what planet is that from? Like, it's so bad, but it makes me fucking laugh.
Yeah.
They're just keeping it simple.
The delivery's decent.
It is. The delivery is
deliver
decent.
it.
He does. Yeah, he does. They know what they're doing, and it's simple, and it gets by on their personality, and I think that's fine.
All right, last one here. Hot take.
Hot take.
DJ Luke D says going in Raw with Nerd Cube will never be topped.
Wow.
Taking it back to 2014 here.
Yeah, that was a long time ago because we didn't even do it with Dan that long. Yeah, no, man, Dan's awesome. Love Dan.
Dan.
He gave us a huge help in getting us established.
Yeah.
So I'm happy if people have fond memories of that, man.
Same.
So yeah, there was another one on here. I forget who it was, but said nothing will beat the going in Raw office days, and the reason was said because you came off as looking so professional.
Yeah, look professional. My attitude was anything but professional.
Bro, here's the thing. I always look at what's the content. I personally think our content now, the actual substance of what we do, I think is far better than anything we did in the office.
Yeah.
We also have a scroll, on a ticker. Sorry, it's a ticker, not a scroll. It's a ticker.
We've upgraded our cameras, both of us, and our mics.
We have good cameras. We have good mics. We've got some really good. I'll be honest with you, man. I have really tried my damnedest, and I think I have really broken through in terms of some decent graphic design with our graphics.
The show looked good. Someone in the comments to one of our videos this last week was asking about the overlay stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I know the idea of working in an office sounds super professional. It sounds cool. I don't think either of us were let's wake up at 9 a.m. and go into the office type people at this point in our lives. I know I wasn't. Dude,
I really wanted to be. I was like, hey, you know what, man? We have this office. Let's try to get a jump on the day. But, it's I always go back to John Lennon said about doing the album Let It Be, the Get Back sessions at, it was what was it, Tottenham Studios?
Mm-hmm.
He was like, we got up at fucking 8 o'clock in the morning, and all these colored lights on us, and these dudes with these, 16 millimeter cameras rolling around. He's like, you can't be creative in that environment. It just doesn't work. So that's when they packed it up, went back to Abbey Road because they were like, we're tired of this shit. This is horrible.
Yeah.
And then they were able to be productive and creative again.
Yep.
And yeah, I do think that there is an amount of, we're so much more lighthearted and funnier, and our chemistry is better when, we sort of do this to a degree on our own terms, as opposed to, hey, let's get the office and get in there early. You know, I don't know. It's
I'm not a morning person. Never have been.
Personally think that this way of doing it just is the best content.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Anyways, that is going to do it for this edition of Hot Takes. Before Larson completely burns and gets some heartburn there, look like.
No, I just had a huge lunch.
What did you have for lunch?
I had some leftover salmon, a good hunk, some grain salad with some avocado and beets in it.
Oh, wow.
And then some tomatillo guacamole salsa on top. It was really good.
Tomatonga fucking guacamole. That sounds awesome.
But I wasn't full after that, so I had 2 small bowls of mini wheats.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah, I eat a lot.
All right.
You wouldn't know it. I eat a lot, though.
Well, there you go, man. All right. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. We got the extreme, eating champion over here.
Put me in the glutton bowl.
I guess so.
If there's a mini wheat eating contest, I'm going to win that.
Oh, man, you're going to blow your asshole out, buddy.
Well, that's something I can worry about hours later. At the moment, all good.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.